Welcome back, guys. So the number one question I get hit up with is about sharp images. They say, people say, "Hey, I bought this exact same camera as you have that you're showing, or lens, and my results are different. I can't get a sharp image off it. I think my camera's broke." And so I'll kind of walk some people through that, but for the most part, I'm going to walk you through a three-step process that I go through for pretty much all my camera gear, and it's kind of evolved over the last 10 or 15 years. Probably in that time I've returned 3 lenses, actually 2 lenses and an adapter, and one had a front focusing issue, the other one had a back focusing issue, and then the adapter wasn't focusing correctly. So I returned those right when I got it, probably within a day or two. It went right back to the camera store. But there are probably over a dozen issues that I can come up with off the top of my head that can affect your sharpness. And so I'll just go through a few of these. Back focusing issues with a lens, front focusing, continuous focus, believe it or not, can readjust right before you snap the photo. You can have in-body stabilization and lens stabilization counteract each other with different firmware. You can have electronic image stabilization as well, kind of counteract some of those things and not work all that great. So yes, you could have your JPEG set to a really unsharp mode. You could be photographing something that moves, and you can photograph something super far away where you're getting wave distortion, heat distortion, or particles, and the list goes on and on and on. So what do we do about this? I'm going to give you a three-step process to kind of slowly debug this. If you're not happy with how sharp your images are, maybe you bought a new camera, maybe you dropped your lens, something along the lines to get back into shape. So the first thing first, you got to have a baseline. If you can't measure it, you can't really manage it. And what I end up doing, if I have an issue with a lens and I can't hand hold it very sharp and I'm not impressed with it, I'll put it on a tripod. Put it on a tripod and I turn everything off. I turn off the lens stability, image stability, focus, everything goes off that I can think of. And then I shoot a photo in bright light with a high shutter speed on a tripod or table, let's say 1/1000th of a second, and I manually focus. Look at it. Generally I have a magnifier there. And when I'm happy, I use a timer, so I'll hit the timer and then just hands off, let it take the photo. If I get a sharp photo, I'm really impressed, like, wow, that is sharp. That is great. That's your baseline. That's in the ideal conditions you want your camera to be in. You want it to be able to say, yes, this can take a sharp image. Now from there, the second step is really turning on these different settings and getting it off the tripod, meaning you can turn on focus. Maybe it's a single focus area or a zone focus, and then you could continuous focus, turn that on. Your stability, your lens stability, your ISO, all that. And if you're still happy on the tripod, pull it off the tripod, then start shooting. Second step done. What's the third step? Well, the third step is this. I have over 25,000 images of this bush. And that's one of the things I do on a Saturday or Sunday. I keep a camera on a table and I practice with it. And I can honestly tell you when I've asked people, hey, what's your minimum shutter speed you can shoot at, let's say 2,000 millimeters or 1,000? They don't know. And that's something you have to be absolutely aware of when you're in the field, because that's your lowest point. That's your worst condition. So for instance, on Olympus, a very stable platform, micro four thirds, I could get away with 1/18th of a second at 800 millimeters. Now, completely opposite, the Nikon D500, great camera, with a Sigma 150 to 600, I was lucky to get 1/125th of a second. That's like 10 times the amount of differential there in time space that I needed. So I couldn't shoot the Nikon like I could shoot the Olympus. I was going to be ending up with bad results. So you got to know your limit, and that's the third step, is to kind of keep practicing day in, day out. You want to look at your daylight conditions. You want to look at your backlighting. You want to look at cloudy days and sunny days, because the thing you'll notice is your camera's focus system, it's going to freak out at some of those, and it's going to pretend like it actually focuses all the way, And you're like, okay. And you take the shot, like, wait a minute. And then you'll back up, you'll look at the photo, and you're like, hey, it didn't focus. Oh, let me try that again. And you'll start to realize your eye-hand coordination, that the camera is not pinpoint accurate on what you're trying to get. And you'll be a little bit more patient. You might even have to use some manual focus at that point, depending on your focus system that you use. Traditionally, I use spot focus because it's the most accurate and I really put it where I want it to. Some people use zone focus, and you can get so-so results at 3,000 or 2,000 millimeters. You really have to be very accurately focused when you're practicing with these cameras. So that is it. Now, if you guys want to see a more detailed video of how I go about putting it on a tripod and shutting everything off and walking you through the steps, because there's long lens photography is kind of an art. You know, we're not dealing with iPhones with only 25 millimeters, which it's hard to take a bad blurry image with one of those phones, where it's very difficult when you get out there with low light at 2,000 and 3,000 millimeters to get something sharp. So if you guys want to see something, write it. I could probably put together another video of this gear on a tripod, walk you through the process a lot more in detail, but just know this is what it's going to take for you to get used to your gear and to make you most effective out in the field. Anyway, guys, I hope this helps, and see you next week.